Good morning. So we're going to welcome to Sam Talks. We're going to talk today about reports. And so we will start with kind of basic information about reports, just make sure everybody's on the same page. And then we will, and then we'll go into some of the new functions or updates to reports that have been put in or will be added to your sites in the next couple of weeks when we do a release. So to start with reports, it's always really a good idea to understand why you're building the report. So getting enough information, if you're building a report for someone else, of what's their purpose, that will help you. What's their purpose? Why do they need that report? And it'll just help you be able to communicate when you're building a report. So and not only building or communicate the report and purpose to other people, but also selecting the tables. So you can't really talk about configurations in SAM without talking about tables and fields that are going to go on the report. So I will just real brief hit the tables at the top. So under settings, tables and fields, you'll be taken to the tables screen, which is really the hierarchy of all the tables that are built into your database. It will look different than this site or any of our originating master site a lot of the time once customizations have been done. Easy way to filter is to pull the main table. So if we were building on a child, the purpose of the report, if someone is suggesting they want to build something about progress reports, it'll be important to kind of grab the very specific table that you're talking about and knowing, being ready to pull that when you go into building the report. When you actually want to build a report, today under settings, you can go to reports. And when you get into this screen, this shows you all the reports that are built in the site. They are separated by main entity or main record type, so really high level. Is it a family or a child or birth parent? You can certainly search for reports that exist, because having hundreds of thousands of reports, which can be the case in some sites, can be kind of overwhelming for users. So narrowing in, again, knowing your specific table that you're building data on will help you then locate reports that may already be built on that table or for that purpose, so that you can pull from. When you filter in this list, you're able to access reports, which will take you to the report builder. So, you know, this has a very specific name that was given to this report. When I open up the report, the only thing that really tells us how a report actually is set up are the tables that are used, including what tables or whether that table must be included in the results. So as a way of narrowing down the results that populate on the report, and then the default filters that are displayed on the report or added to the report, which is going to, again, narrow down. So the only way you're actually to compare two reports side by side, looking at apples to apples, is to look at what are the table structure and the filters that are pulled on a report. A naming just isn't going to do it, because this could say X, Y, Z. So one of the things that we've been up to in the last couple of weeks since the last release is really restructuring sidebar links and reports. The report builder is one of the areas that we focus on. So the sidebar links are we think a little bit clearer now. At the very top, you can open the report, so that'll just open it for you. When you access the actual report, the report itself is taking up the full screen. So the sidebar becomes over here under this hamburger menu. If you open it, you can then get right back to editing the report. Once you're here again, you then add fields. This again is going to give you a list of the different tables that are included on the report. So knowing how specific of data your aim is to extract out of the system, and knowing what tables and where that data lies is going to be helpful for you as a administrator. Once you click on, if you're not really certain, you can come in here, click on the table title, and it'll take you to all the fields that are available for you. You can add a field onto it by clicking. And if that table did not include the field that you're looking for, you can press the back button and go back to a more specific or targeted table for your needs. I'll just stick that one on, and clicking will add the field, putting a check mark next to the field title will add that field as a column on the report, which then you can see it's then at the end, right? Any new fields, I think when you first select a lot of fields, they're going to be in alphabetical order, but then you can certainly edit the column order from the sidebar. So we've kind of put all of the edit links together, and then you can use the drop down to put this into a different spot. Right, and retoggle. Sometimes there's a little bit of Sam not wanting to do what we just asked it to do. If you refresh, that'll make sure that it's set, it'll give you the visibility to where exactly that field is going to be in the columns, and then you can retoggle them using the drop downs. And so sometimes it might just take a bit or two. You can edit the name of the report. So if you found that this report is now no longer super explicit for how you may have filtered it or changed the report, you can certainly change the name or fix spelling errors at any time. Edit the column width will allow you to open up a field like maybe written by, maybe you know somebody in your organization has a long name. That will open up a little bit more space for you, or better balance it out. This is a little funny, so kind of playing with it, and you kind of want to fiddle with it and open the report and see how that rebalances itself out. Certainly if you have memo fields as used as columns, you want to open up more space for those as well. You can certainly remove a field. It'll put in the old school X's that are here, and we can take that field that we just added right back off. If you love this report, but you want a slight variation to it, like maybe progress reports that are in a specific time period, you can copy the report, and Sam will start you over. A lot of times if I'm doing something like that, like copying a report, I'll take and copy the report title so that they sit next to each other in the list, and then put in, specific time period, whatever I wanted that to be. And then I've got an identical report that then I could add filters to and say the progress report due date is, in a specific year of 2025. Something like that. So now this will no longer be identical to the report that I originated it from, because this one is just going to show us 2025 reports, or those that are due in 2025. Under advanced options, you have a modification history, and certainly you can delete your report. And miscellaneous advanced options is a screen that allows, it's really just showing you the report name in the memo. But then if this report is used on a template, which we will start to talk about a little later, you can actually add a template report style that will, if you liked your template data to be in bold, you could add HTML and force the system to make it look a little bit different. You can also limit the number of rows that it returns. So perhaps you had a whole report around communications, which could get quite lengthy on a family record. You might want to just show our last 20 communications. So it's like the most recent, something like that, and have it 20 or less, something of that nature. If it's shown in the report list, this is going, I believe, yeah, you like, this will, eliminate it from being the report being displayed over here. If I go to family reports, it could limit that visibility here. And you might want to do that to support your users who are not full admins from seeing reports, and certainly if they can edit, manipulating reports around that are used on templates. So you can take that out of their visibility so no fiddling happens with those in the report menu. Yeah, so they would show in this report list of or under settings and the report builder list of all the reports that you have, but they would not show from the home page under family reports, as an example, that's shown over here once you click. Let's see, is there something else that we'll talk about on reports just to make sure that you see everything? I think I'm going to jump to, let's go to adoption fees. And we'll go to edit the report again. There are some additional settings that you can do. So we talked about filters. Filters, again, are an area where you want to be fairly specific and really understand the purpose. And sometimes filters give you the way that you maybe set up the operators or the combination of filters. You start to narrow down the records that are displayed too much. Our resolution is going to be to start pulling out some of the filters so then you can see which filter and which operator are affecting the results in the way that you don't want to see. So you always kind of pull them back and then re-add them. There is a sorting. I believe you can set a couple, like 2, 3, or 4 different sorts on here. So you might have it sorted by family name ascending and then AR received date. So you see each family and then what was received last. It might be based on due date, might be based on fee type if you have recurring fees, things like that. So it is something that can be changed on the report itself once you're accessing the report, but this is just the way that it will be displayed by default. Even the sort might be a situation where you have multiple versions of a particular report because you might have somebody that works with the report in a particular fashion. So I know on accounting reports a lot, accountants can be fairly particular with how they want to see the data, but that sort may not be the same sort that somebody just kind of checking their caseload and what fees have been paid needs to see. So that is available to you to kind of manipulate. Report stats are a way to aggregate the data, so it counts up and summarizes, and it can even find averages and minimum and maximums of data points. So this in here in this report builder portion is showing you the title. I want to say that I'm not actually 100% positive what this is. So this is generally, and so we'll have to actually go in and poke around because like, where is this accounting AR? I'm not solid that I know why that has a hint there of some sort, but these are the report stat title that's been given to these report stats. And so it's showing us that we have 4, we can add one here, we can edit. When we edit this here, I think all I'm able to do is set the order, reset the order of how they're organized on the screen. So what you use most frequently as an example, or because this isn't necessarily based around case program, we're really looking at fees on this particular report, I can move that to the end, unless I find I've got all my case programs shown here. And so first things first is I want to filter, narrow down to our international program versus our domestic program, something like that. You can toggle that. You can access from here the edit screen. So let's just poke right here. So that little memo or that little grayed out bit is at least the table title. I have a feeling it's actually showing us the aggregated field. So this is showing us, this report set is set up to show us all the different fee types and the total for the amount received next to it. So it will show us a record count, like let's say maybe we have 10 AR, account receivable records under a specific fee type and what percentage out of the total it is, but then it will also be totaling the amount received. So we'll know that. And that's what that little filter or the little memo was at the bottom. And I'll show that when we actually go into the report. We can show totals at the bottom, and we can also set how many records do we want shown by default. If you have lots of records, the report stats are going to take up a lot more space on your page. So it kind of, again, depends on the purpose of this report. Is it the report built specifically to look at individual records and all the detail about it, or do you build the report to specifically look at report stats and see that information in a summarized sense? It really depends on who that report is for. So I'll put that here. You do have some additional report options. There are totals, averages, minimum, and maximums that can be shown. You can only show totals, or Sam, the report will only show totals, averages, and minimum maximums where a field has a setting that allows it. Otherwise, it would be popping up data a lot and maybe on things that don't make sense, like a number field, such as the family case number is a number 1, 2, 3, 4 generally in client sites. That would not make sense to count those numbers, because it would say 3 for one family that has 2 cases of case number 1 and case number 2, but that's not really a value that makes sense. So setting it on the field specifically under the field properties is what will designate to SAM to actually show the data. You can choose the number of records to show per page. The more you have, which eventually I think all will go away, the more records SAM has to pull, the longer the report will take to load. So if you have a report about all families in the site, and you have been using SAM for 10 plus years, you're going to have potentially hundreds of thousands of family records, and that's a lot of data. So be ready if you set up a report that has a lot of records per page or a lot of records displayed for that to take a while to open. And then this right here allows your users to edit fields directly on the report. There are times where, yes, you want that, and there are times where you absolutely would not. So a time where you would, sorry, I'm an itch. But the time where you would be to, if someone worked from a report, or if you were going in and auditing a report and you recognize there's a lot of empty data and you want to clean that data up. You might not want to allow users to edit a report if you have a lot of automated actions that require many data points to push out the proper automated action. So let's say you've got a report on progress reports, or rather like placements on placements. So foster care placements, and you start entering in a placement end date, but you've set up automated actions where you require your staff to enter the discharge reason why that placement end date is being entered at the same time in order to trigger things like emails to go out to specific people or updates to the record in general. You may really want to limit somebody's use of being able to edit one field at a time because you need these automated actions to go out. So again, proper training of your staff of where and when to enter certain types of data. And then this can come in combination to kind of limit how things happen. Show record counts on report will put a, I want to say we've got them up, but perhaps when we're looking at my report menu, is this true? Yes, I didn't see it when I looked at all of them. It will tell you the counts of all the records that are on this report. Right, and so you notice this one does not have that on the report, so that number count is just not being shown. It's just a choice as to whether or not you like that information being displayed there or not. And the last thing that I'll talk about on report building is just adding a report hint in a memo. So again, we will always be able to understand how a report is built by the filters that are included and whether or not it must be in results. And because I never showed this before, I'll just go in. It's a check mark, and this is a way of narrowing it down. So like if a family, for example, did not have an AR fee, they are not going to show up on this report. But if I unclick that, the family with no AR fees would show on this report. So that's how you add that. So between the filters of what tables are included and your default filters on the report itself is a way that is going to identify exactly how that report is built and what the records are. But putting in common language that your team uses, a hint or a memo around why, who it was for, the purpose in general, like maybe it was for a grant that you're going after in 2019. Well, now it's 2025. Is there a need for this report to still be there? That is a common question we get of how to maintain a site. Having a report hint would be super helpful because maybe you built a report for someone who no longer works at your organization. You can drop that report and delete it and then see it in the future or rebuild it in the future if it became important again, so that you can manage your stuff. So I cannot stress, after such a long period of time of working with organizations, how stuff gets built and forgotten about and then becomes a distraction to further development in the site just because there's a lot of stuff to sift through. So any more additional information will be super helpful. All right, so now we'll go in and actually talk about a report. So I do want to just recall again and reiterate how you access the sidebar once you're looking at a report. It is this hamburger menu up at the top. You can click it and the sidebar links will open. And I'm going to focus a lot on this because I believe we have done some recent reordering on this part as well. So again, you can get back and edit the report. You're able to add report stats from this. But then otherwise, this is really taking action on reports. So whether you're going to send a bulk email or you might print templates like monthly statements for foster families or progress reports for all the kids where they are recently written or approved in the past month. You can print the report, which I believe is an edit that we recently made, an update to it to maintain the inclusion of the report. It's showing the counts that are displayed there. It's running off the page because we have so many columns, but you are able to certainly change to landscape. And you can also use your printer settings to, is it scale? You might custom scale it to make sure that you're see the entire report, okay? These are things that we can't really control for because of how many columns folks can add to a report. but you can use your printer settings for that. I believe we eliminated some information that was kind of extraneous on this to give you a nice clean report with the title and the columns and data there. So that's on client request. You can also take other actions from a report, which perhaps we talk about again a little later this year, is bulk updating, bulk inserting records. So really updating multiple records at a time with information. And then we've got all of the ways that you can extract or import data into the system. So exporting email addresses is going to be very specific to the records that are on the report. Exporting to Excel is going to take this report and pop it right out in the way that it is displayed. And I believe even filtered in the moment in which you export to Excel. Importing data is going to be getting data into SAM. This is for very simple data points, and your data, your CSV file that you import needs to match identically to the column layout that you see on the report. And then developer options is only because I have a different visibility. I'm not really solid what's under there, but it's not something that you guys see anyways. So we'll not talk about that. When you're on the actual report, the report configuration is literally exactly how this report is set up. So just, it's really a reiteration of the two sections on the report builder, the tables that are on the report, and the report, the default filters. So in this situation, we're looking at all families that have AR records and all AR records, right? We're also looking at all case types. As long as a family has an AR record, that is the only filter that's on this particular report. Then on the next accordion is report stats. And this is where you're actually seeing the aggregation of data. We've got a couple of updates here. Kelly, do you want to talk to those updates?
Yeah.
Do you want to jump into this report? Do you want to share screen? How do you want to work that?
Yeah, give me just a second to jump into that report.
Okay, and won't you let us know? In the meantime, is there any questions on any of the reports or any functionality? Like, you know, I know I'm going over kind of basic stuff, or just really covering everything that's available to you, because sometimes people forget or don't know or kind of are afraid to click a link. We're working on renaming things to give it a more clear, obvious definition within the sidebar links, and tightening it up sometimes so there's no sprawling of multiple lines. Yeah, no questions coming up from building a report or accessing a report or some of the basic sidebar links on a report. Y'all feel good about it? Cool.
Okay. Build it. I think I wanted to say, like, the filters are so not intuitive to me, the including the past, excluding future. And I know that I did find the explanation under the help section, but is there a good practice? I know some are used more for, it stated this is best for auto action, or this is best for a report, or at least that's under the help guide. Is there any other way to help somebody who's not that those aren't intuitive to understand?
You mean, so is it specific to those operators, Pam, that are including the past or excluding the past?
Yeah, like, and those are just not intuitive to me. I don't know which is best. The equals, the greater than, you know, like, and I just started, you know, like I said, under the help guides, learning more about like what's best practice to use for which. So if there's any other space that explains that.
Um,
That would
I
be
think
helpful.
it's sort of trial and error, right?
Okay.
Is really going to be your best learning or coming to these calls. So I do appreciate your
Yeah.
question. Let me see. So I'm going to maybe do it off receive date. The operator you're talking about is specific to date fields, I feel like. Yeah, and then so what she's referencing are these, I think there's 4 sections where it'll include the future or exclude the future. And so these are within some time in the past. So let me think. If we did within 3 months in the past, that's going to go back to, let's say, I think it month goes back literally to May. So like May 1st would be included. It is not on a month 3 months from today, right? It is literally 3 months from August is what that means. So if you need it to be 90 days, you're going to choose the days. Okay. So there's that but including the future. So, yeah, if we said, I want a received date is within 3 months in the past, including the future, if we have a received date that is tomorrow or a year from today, that record would also be included.
Understood.
If,
Okay.
as an example, we did the same thing 3 months in the past, excluding the future, it is not going to display tomorrow's receive date or one from next year. It is only going to be 3 months in the past up to today.
Okay.
That makes sense. And then,
Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah.
yeah, and like same thing. So like, again, it kind of depends on what's the purpose of your report. Do you
Right.
want to know like receive date being in the future? Kind of seems weird, but it would catch incorrect data entry,
True.
right?
Okay.
But and so that's where like you just it's sort of a trial and error of what, and it will affect, right? The 2 different operators will affect your results. If in that situation, like a receive date, we are not going to think that that makes any sense for something to be actually in the future of today, of before, yeah, in the future, because receive date itself says that we've gotten it, which means it has to have happened in the past or in the past, right? It's been received, it happened already. So any future doesn't make sense, but something like if you were doing an expiration date, you might use that. So I think it really depends on the definition of your date.
Got it.
David or Kelly, do y'all have any additions onto that or any ways that you may have used it?
I just think it's impressive. Sam can see the future.
Well, it's usually because for data entry, which is just normal, right? Which is one of those things where I will recommend sometimes having automated actions so that we take away some of the data entry of a human because we're going to make mistakes. So we'll let the machine do that. So auto actions or bulk updates, though I clearly understand bulk update can be intimidating, and it can, because it's affecting a lot of records. So yeah, does that help you, Pam?
It does.
Okay, cool. But yes, the operators, there are lots of operators for date fields specifically. There is no between, right? Is like receive date between May 1st and May 31st, but you'll do a greater than and a less than. So having 2 separate filters on there will help. And then I'm trying to think, like these we just got, there was some little like silly bugs or whatever with these when we were going through that. Kelly, in the filters, there is an update on the filters. It is it related to its date time fields? Date time
Yes.
fields we're not functioning real well with like in current year or in current month or last month, next month, I think stuff like that. Those
Yeah.
things are being resolved. So if it's a date, time field, it is looking at the date specifically when we're talking about dates on here, which is general. So that's also been resolved in the upcoming release, which is, I believe at this today, 1 week away. So you'll start to see messaging go out for that. We thought we had a bug found right at the last minute, but it ended up not being. So we don't want to push anything out that affects if we find something. So using caution. Okay, with that, I'm going to give it to Kelly to talk through some of the other updates that are coming out on reports.
Okay. Got the report up. So I'm going to share my screen. The first thing that I want to talk about is the report stats accordion itself. Previously, you had the option to set whether it was open by default or not. We took that option away. It's always going to be closed by default. And as you just saw, you can click the accordion to view them. Because we found that it was just acting kind of weird on client sites and just yeah.
And then to close it, you just click it again, right?
Yeah, to close it, you can just click it again. Yep. And then let's see, another thing is how the report interacts with these report stats. So if I click on case program home study only, don't know if you saw, but each of the other report stats adjusted based off of me clicking the home study only case program. And if I click on miscellaneous fee, these are all of the records where the case program's home study only and they have a miscellaneous fee.
So yeah, so you're really filtering down those report stats and right, all the different report stats are updating, which is nice because they were sort of acting independently before. So now your aggregates are giving more accurate data of how you have that filtered.
Exactly, yeah, so
But even Kelly, tell them what you just said, because it's hard to see because you can't really see your clicks. Is you clicked it again and it unset the filter that you chose.
yes. Sorry, yeah, so to filter by home study only, I'll click on home study only. If I want to take away that filter, like what you're saying, you can click it again. Click it again, there we go. So now we are just seeing all of the records. There's no filtering anymore. This yeah, she showed the report printing already. I think the next thing I want to talk about is how checkbox fields work. I don't believe that there is one on here. So let me edit the report and see if I can.
We can go find the report that we were looking at earlier.
Yeah, that's probably the better option. Let me go find that.
Was it the family inquiry report? I'm not sure.
Yes, it was.
You can also, because you don't know the name of it, is search by the field, which is a nice tool because you do know you're looking for family case services interested in. And so the way that this is drop down is listed is the table title and then the field title. And so I think, yeah, you're looking for case and then there was services interested in, which you think you could even maybe press C and it'll get down to case because there's a significant number of fields that are used on reports for sure.
There we go.
Cool.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna open this report. Yeah, we actually have a couple of checkbox fields on here, the service category interested in, and also the race preference. And if we look up here at the services category interested in report stat, we can see that we can filter by all of the empty values for that field, and previously you were not able to do that.
Yeah, and this is literally if there's zero data in that particular checkbox list. So, right, what Kelly said, that wasn't available today in your sites. It's just seeing empty on them. It would just show you data if there was something in. So you could never really find the records that have no values, no entries. And so now you can, really quite helpful.
Mm-hmm. See, the next thing that I think I want to talk about is we updated how reports act on templates. So let's go and find a family thing. Oh, I'm blanking on the record that we were playing with earlier.
Her name was Nanny, Nani. Very difficult to find because I don't know whose name that is. But
there we go. Okay.
So maybe set up the situation before you jump into the template. So because people don't really know like we do. Right. So like this family has multiple cases, has 2 cases on there. And under each case, there is a different number of adoptions. So I think when we set this up, and maybe Kelly, if you scroll down, I'm not sure if on the cover page, it has the adoption sub form. You can see there are 3 adoptions. And this form does not include the family case ID, but 2 of these kids, Liam and Teddy, are on, I think, case 1. And then Lucas is the international adoption, and they are on case 2. That adoption took place on the 2nd case. So in your version of SAM today, if you pull a report of adoptions under the case, SAM is going to just show you all of the records, which isn't necessarily what you want. So today, or once this version is released to you guys, it's going to narrow down. And so Kelly will demonstrate that.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump straight into templates. And then I'm going to look at this one right here. Yeah, so these are all of the post-adoption records specifically for this case that we are on. And this case, again, like she was saying, only has the 1 kid on it. And it looks like they have 3 different PARs to complete. And then if I wanted to look at the adoption and PARs for the other case, I would just have to go back to the cover page, select the other case, gonna go back to templates and find that template again. And here are the other kids. Looks like Liam has 3 post-adoption reports, and then Teddy has 1, 2, 3, 4 post-adoption reports. And because these 2 kids have adoptions under this particular case, they will show on this report that's on the template.
And this is super helpful because today what you guys are doing or had to do to get like a workaround, and it's been for a while, is build another template and based around adoptions or post-adoption reports. So you are like building multiple templates within one greater template. This allows you to build a report. Building a template for printing or email is going to be way faster, like significantly faster if you're okay with this formatting. Sometimes, depending on what's in the data that you're trying to display, like if there were a bunch of memo boxes, it's going to be, a report isn't a really great way to display that information anyways. So that would look messy or just be hard to read because the data would display really narrow. But for a lot of dates or a schedule like this, or a list of all your adoption fees that are due, or background checks that have been completed, or background checks that are expiring, or home studies that are expiring, or whatever, people that work on the team, right? Where you're generating a list of records, a report is a really simple option to just get that data out quickly, and now it filters exactly as you expect it to. So it's very nice. We like that too.
Yeah, and then I am gonna go find this report and filter it so we can see, or filter it further so that we can see that it changes. Let's see, let's go to reports. So I am going to add a filter. So go post-adoption reports. Per par is less than 3. So now we should only see the post-adoption reports if it's either number 1 or number 2. So now if I go back to here and I refresh, we can see that it filters properly. And I don't believe it was doing that before either, right? Or was it?
I don't know. I think it was a way that
Or
we
am I-
didn't test, but still, like it's helpful if you are showing, again, kind of using Pam's question is something in the future or something excluding the past, right? To give you a very concrete data point or time period. The report can be a little bit, the report can be narrowed, and that will help narrow. And so it just displays as you expect it to on a report, which is nice. What else, Kelly? Is there anything else, or is that all the updates around reports? There's way more updates. So maybe share with them how to find the updates that are there, and what's next as far as like other SAM talks that are upcoming.
Yeah, so the release notes for the upcoming release in a week are going, no, not SAM updates. Yep, they are in our knowledge base under August 2025 updates, and here we go. When we get the release messaging out, this will be linked on your homepage, I believe.
Mhm. And there's more, yeah, again, there's more updates on here than we talked about today. So
Yeah,
certainly if you guys
way
have
more.
mentioned anything, look and see, but we'll also, if you mentioned something, we said, oh, we need to do development on it, I believe part of our process is also write you back and let you know that too. It's been specific. I didn't notice, Kelly, but the very first thing is talking about the styling of filters. And I didn't even notice, maybe because your screen resolution is larger, but because filters are something that people are doing regularly. You're doing filters on, you can do filters on forms, reports, templates, auto actions, like all of the things. If you go to Report Builder and you look at filters, was there anything there? I didn't even notice, but if you just click edit on there, it's really just we reduce some space so that your values show more. We just don't happen to have really long table titles and stuff. And I think if you were to add another filter, like on post adoption report, due date, and just that's probably enough. Is that true? Oh, and maybe click or.
Mm.
Yeah, and just click the or. Then our must match is a little bit smaller. Everything's kind of tightened in so that, again, you have more visibility to the data you're actually there to see, which is the table title, the field title, and the value. So those are some updates that are coming out as well. And what's next for September? Because we have a couple of calls scheduled.
Yes, we do have a couple of us all scheduled. Let me go to the website. And I took that in wrong.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah, so for September, the first call is going to be on the 3rd, and that is our open format call. And then on the 17th, it's again going to be like today's call. We have just we have a topic, and we're going to talk about it for like 30 minutes is what we try to ballpark for these, just to keep them nice and short.
Which we totally ran over this call.
Yes.
But yeah, if you have questions on templates, bring them next on the 17th. We'll probably cover again what we've talked about here because it's a recent update, but just to make sure it's clear and so even show on a template more specifically how you're actually adding a report, things like that. Any questions or anything that we could cover before we close our Sam Talks call today?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I've read that same thing you showed earlier when you're copying a report, but you have to copy the name first. Have you thought about having it automatically say copy of blah, blah, blah? Because I've seen that elsewhere.
Well, no, we haven't thought about it, but it's not a bad idea. We do have other tools that we use that we clone or whatever on a regular basis, which is sometimes helpful because then it's, again, something else done. No, we could create a ticket for it. It's not a bad idea. Thank you for that. Like
Yeah.
it. Do you build a lot of copied reports?
Sometimes, not recently, but
Yeah.
I have.
David, you're one of the people who talks about the difficulty in deleting the reports and being uncertain. Do you use the report hint?
Not like I should.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. They can always be rebuilt if you want to let them go. Yeah. Pam or Gurmeet, anything else? Or I don't know if Carrie's still here. She's not in my visibility. Any reports or blah, blah, questions around reporting?
No,
Not
I've
that I can
been
think of.
looking at a lot of the stuff that Miss Kelly had reported in the different meetings that we've been. So I'm looking at a lot of stuff. But we have another person here that is going to be now uploading documentations and
Yep.
fixing the documentations now. So
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome to bring any questions you have, Gurmeet, about whatever, if the other administrative staff that's working in SAM has any questions, definitely on September 3rd, bring those to the call. We'll be happy to help if you have any.
Yeah, I had to change, my position hasn't been changed, so I'm the administrator now. So the supervisor for our agency is the one who's gonna be handling documentation so that the agency social workers can do their documentation correctly.
Okay.
So,
Congratulations.
Stephanie, thank you very much. Kelly, you did a great job. And I'm learning from those, websites. So, thank you.
Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah, this webinar, once we finish, will be added also up under our guides, so you can access it in the future if you wanted to come back and hear us talking about reports to you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely will be. Every week, every day that you guys are gonna give me dates, I'm definitely coming there and reading and seeing and looking at things. Cause
Good.
it's awesome, Kelly, and it's very awesome, Miss Stephanie.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Carrie, you got anything going on for reports? No. Okay. All right. Well, with that, I think Kelly, do you feel complete for today?
I do. Yeah.
All right. Well, then we'll end on time. It's 10:59. It was a pleasure to see you all. Thank you for joining us. And we'll see you again September 3rd, if not talking before.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Have a
Bye, y'all.
good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.